But don't you think that a lie like that is dangerous on a news network when you know that they know they're lying? You know that they know that I took medicine, like here it is. This is ivermectin.
You got
this
it with
right
you.
Here. Somebody gave. The rest of them are all lying about me taking horse medication. And we should talk about that.
That bothered you.
It should bother you too. They're lying at your network about people taking human drugs versus drugs for veterinary.
Calling it a horse dewormer is not a flattering thing. I get that.
It's a lie. It's a lie on a news network.
In order to spread false historical narratives that are overtly misogynistic, chauvinistic, racist, and anti-Semitic.
Joe Rogan never backs down from a tough conversation. Whether he's calling out media bias or questioning historical narratives, he has a way of cutting straight to the point. In this video, we're taking a closer look at two unforgettable moments, from Dr. Sanjay Gupta struggling to defend CNN to Graham Hancock pushing back on historical myths. These are the kinds of exchanges that remind us why Joe's podcast is so interesting and unique. When Joe's on the mic, you know it's going to get real, and you won't want to miss this. Welcome back to Podcast Crazy. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments below. We want to hear about your favorite moments from Joe's hate on wokes and their beliefs. And now let's jump right into it. If you clicked on this video, you already know who Joe Rogan is, but on the other side of the ring today, we have a few woke opponents. Firstly, we'll hear from Dr. Sanjay Gupta, a renowned neurosurgeon, medical journalist, and most importantly, the chief medical correspondent for CNN. And as you guys know, CNN isn't always the most reliable news network, since it likes to be like the Tower of Pisa, leaning to the left.
I think your immunity is really good.
So why, if I've already gotten through COVID and I was really only sick for a day, and then 5 days later I was negative, and I do have the natural antibodies now, why would I take a chance in getting vaccinated on top of that?
By the way, I'm glad you're better. I'm glad it only lasted a day.
You're probably the only one at CNN that's glad.
No. We're not.
The rest of them are all lying about me taking horse medication. And we should talk about that.
That bothered you.
It should bother you too. They're lying at your network about people taking human drugs versus drugs for veterinary.
Calling it a horse dewormer is not a flattering thing. I get that.
It's a lie. It's a lie on a news network, and it's a lie that's a willing. That's a lie that they're conscious of. This is not a mistake.
Yeah.
They're unfavorably framing it as veterinary medicine.
Well, the FDA put this thing out. You saw that. Did you see that thing that the FDA put out?
What did the FDA put out?
It was a tweet, and it was snarky. I admit it. They said, "You are not a horse, you are not a cow, stop taking this stuff," or something like that.
Why would you say that when you're talking about a drug that's been given out to billions and billions of people, a drug that was responsible for one of the inventors of it making the
Nobel Prize.
The Nobel Prize in 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, a drug that has been shown to stop viral replication in vitro. You know that, right? Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer? I can afford people medicine, motherfucker. This is ridiculous. It's just a lie.
I don't think anyone is.
But don't you think that a lie like that is dangerous on a news network when you know that they know they're lying? You know that they know that I took medicine, like here it is. This is ivermectin.
You got
this
it with
is right
you.
here. Somebody gave it to me.
Back in 2021, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent, made a rare appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast. It's not something you see often, a major figure from the mainstream media stepping into the world of social media. And on top of that, one of the world's most controversial social medias too, the JRE. Naturally, their conversation revolved around the pandemic and vaccination efforts. Just a month later, Joe had revealed he caught the virus and was taking ivermectin, a treatment prescribed by his doctor. This didn't sit well with CNN, which aired multiple segments framing him as reckless and misinformed. So when Dr. Gupta joined the show, it gave Joe the perfect opportunity to challenge the narrative and address the misinformation head-on.
Lied and said I was taking horse dewormer. First of all, it was prescribed to me by a doctor.
Yeah.
Along
they
with
shouldn't have said
a
it was
bunch
horse.
of other medications.
If you got a human pill, because there were people that were taking it, the veterinary medication, and you're not, obviously. You got it from a doctor, so that it shouldn't be called that. Ivermectin can be a very effective medication for parasitic disease, and as you say, it's probably, I think what, 250 million people have taken it around the world.
More,
I get that.
Way more.
So
way more. Billions of people have taken it.
Can I just come back to the one I want to talk about? Two things on the ledger.
Before we get to that, does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied.
Well-
just outright lied about me taking horse dewormer.
They shouldn't have said that.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
You didn't ask? You didn't think that was you're the medical guy over there.
I didn't ask. I should have asked before
But they
coming
did
on
it
your
with
podcast.
such glee.
No,
Yes,
Joe.
they did. I watched.
You watched?
I watched.
You watched? No, I don't think there's
Yes,
glee.
they did.
I don't. No one takes.
Joe Rogan says he has
She's taking-
COVID, taking livestock drug despite warnings. Yeah.
Jamie had to pull this up.
You want
huh?
to play it?
Does she
This
have
is your
glee?
news network.
I'm gonna watch.
Let's see.
I'm gonna watch.
Rogan telling his 13 million Instagram followers that he was treated with several drugs, and he included ivermectin on the list, a drug used for livestock. The FDA and the CDC warn against using to treat COVID.
When Dr. Sanjay Gupta joined Joe Rogan's podcast, things quickly got heated. Joe didn't hold back, calling out CNN for claiming he was using horse dewormer to treat COVID. They said I was taking horse medicine, Joe stated, clearly frustrated with how the story was spun. Sanjay, visibly uncomfortable, admitted that the network's framing wasn't fair or accurate.
You can have nuanced discussions about this.
No,
right?
you can't.
Yeah, you
can't have nuanced discussions about lying about someone taking horse dewormer.
There was no glee, by the way, from her. She
Wow,
was. I
I
don't think
didn't watch her.
anyone takes people's illness.
Oh, yes, they do.
They don't want you to get
stop it.
sick, Joe.
Yes, they do.
They
were
want you to get
upset that
sick.
I got healthy. That's one thing they didn't report on. The fact that I was negative 5 days later and working out 6 days later.
Well,
6 days after infection, I was back in the gym.
I'm glad.
Felt great.
I'm glad you do. I really
Me
am.
too.
I think
Thank you.
Most of the
I'm
people
glad you're glad. You're a nice guy.
Most of the people I know, I think, would be glad that you. I don't think that there was any glee.
There's a lot of people out there that weren't glad. But my point is, you're working for a news organization. If they're lying about a comedian taking horse medication, what are they telling us about Russia? What are they telling us about Syria? Do you understand that that's why people get concerned about the veracity of the news?
Rogan didn't hold back when talking with Dr. Sanjay Gupta about the media's lack of nuance. You can have nuanced conversations, Joe said, pointing out how oversimplification erodes trust. What do you guys think of this exchange? Is Joe overreacting, or do his concerns about the lies behind mass media stand on solid ground? Let us know in the comments. And if you guys think that this interaction was tough, wait until we jump into the next episode with Graham Hancock and Flint Dibble. Graham Hancock is a best-selling author known for challenging mainstream archaeology with his theories about advanced ancient civilizations and lost knowledge. Flint Dibble, on the other hand, is a professional archaeologist who advocates for evidence-based historical research. You know, when you combine evidence-based wokeism with Joe Rogan, it's about to get heavy. Stay tuned, because we are about to jump right into it.
Archaeologist Flint Dibble says Hancock's claims reinforce white supremacist ideas, stripping indigenous people of their rich heritage, and instead giving credit to aliens or white people. Actually, I've never...
Did you really say that?
No, I said that this idea of Atlantis, the way it goes back 200 years, it has been used for those reasons.
So are you saying your quote is incorrect?
I think that it's editing me out of context, Graham. I've never called you a white supremacist or a racist.
No, you've said
how
that
does-
you've hang on. That's because you're very, if I may say so, very slippery in the way that you deal with, because you know perfectly well that saying that my work encourages white supremacism and encourages racism is going to end up with me being tarred as a racist, and you know very well
No, Graham.
that tarring somebody as a racist in this day. Look, the results there, down there. Make no mistake, Hancock is a white supremacist like Trump.
Look at
TD out
this-
there,
but
it's
look at this
racist
title.
fiction pretending to be
These are
science.
not my words.
But
Look,
no,
you
I'm talking
cite-
about your
You
influence
cite
on media
19th
and culture.
century sources, you cite 16th century sources, and
Yeah.
I label those as racist. And I see it as a problem to readapt those kind of sources without critiquing them, because this idea of a white Atlantis is what existed in the 19th century.
I have no such idea.
But you might not, but you're citing those sources uncritically.
Why should I not cite
And
them?
I never make that the foreground of anything that I write. I put that in there as a paragraph, and I say he should not be citing these kind of sources without critiquing them.
In this clip, Graham Hancock and Flint Dibble get into a, let's say, lively debate about ancient civilizations. Hancock suggested that lost cultures passed down advanced knowledge that shaped history, while Dibble pushed back, focusing on evidence-based research. Their back and forth raised big questions about how much we really know about our past, and whether modern interpretations are missing the bigger picture. With their discussion about the lost city of Atlantis still ongoing, it's clear they haven't lost their words just yet. Let's dive in and see how this unfolds.
Does it reinforce white supremacist ideas that they were seafaring Africans?
Well, because again, it strips credit away from the people who actually did that.
Right, but that doesn't reinforce white supremacy. It reinforces, look, if anything, he's trying to say that it was black people from Africa that were able to seafare and create these structures.
Some pretty silly stereotypes is what I'd say.
What do you mean about facial features?
Yeah.
But there's many people that have made those connections. Looking at those, they look Polynesian,
and
perhaps.
yet the people that have excavated it and done the DNA right at that site at San Lorenzo have shown that none of those people had African descent.
Right, but what are those structures representative of? Are they the people that were there?
Of course.
But is it possible that
No,
those
we have no
structures
evidence of African people in
Right,
the
we don't have
Americas.
any evidence of it, but we do have the actual structure of those faces, and they do. I mean, be honest. They look either Polynesian
I
or
can bring up some.
They look fascinating.
Excuse me.
They're
I can
cool.
I can bring up some imagery on that.
Okay.
And perhaps we'll do that next. But I would just love to just complete this little point that I want to make here, which is the influence of Flint and his colleagues on media and culture. And again, we've got the Society for American Archaeology, 5,000 members. Flint is one. Flint's co-author, John Hoops, actually helped to write this letter for the Society of American Archaeology. They're saying that I embolden extreme voices that misrepresent archaeological knowledge in order to spread false historical narratives that are overtly misogynistic, chauvinistic, racist, and anti-Semitic. I mean, you apply those labels to somebody and you're going to get that person hated by a lot of people.
In their debate, Graham Hancock clarified he wasn't targeting archaeologists directly, but challenging mainstream ideas about ancient civilizations. Flint Dibble pushed back, questioning the evidence behind those claims. Hancock didn't shy away, making it clear he's more interested in exploring bold ideas than worrying about critics. That's not really my problem, he said, keeping the conversation as fiery as ever.
And then the general media fishy
Twitter
Netflix
accounts?
show, Ancient Apocalypse, that is the most dangerous show on Netflix. You used the word dangerous
Where?
repeatedly in your conversation piece.
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever called you dangerous, Graham. I've not called you these things. You're misinterpreting me.
You don't think I'm dangerous? You don't think that...
I think that the way that you refer to archaeology as, you say that you're number one enemy of archaeology and things like that, you are promoting people to dislike what we do. We are doing our jobs. No, you started off Ancient Apocalypse by calling us patronizing and arrogant.
Archaeologists see me as public enemy number one. That's exactly what I
you started off by
said.
saying we're not sitting around thinking about you. Most of my dad's colleagues, when I mentioned I'm coming on here to do this, they had no idea you talk about the Ice Age. They thought you talked
of
about
archaeologists
pyramids.
like you, Flint, who see me as public enemy number one and who have quite a substantial outreach in the media. Unilad,
right here.
Pseudo-archaeology, as Dibble calls it, acts to reinforce white supremacist ideas. Flint Dibble interview, Ancient Apocalypse, Graham Hancock, and conspiracy theories. I mean, what the fuck is the conspiracy theory? That archaeologists are conspiring against me, which I've never said or ever suggested.
You claim we're trying to hide the evidence,
No,
just
I
like
don't.
with Clovis First. We shut down alternative narratives. That's a conspiracy theory.
Hang on, tell me where I've claimed that you hide the evidence.
You have claimed many times that we try to shut down alternative narratives, that we try to silence them. That suggests there's an archaeological conspiracy where we're all working together to have one narrative.
No, it suggests that there's a strongly held point of view, there's a paradigm, and that those who go against the paradigm are likely to be attacked, like Tom Dillahay, like Jacques Cinq-Mars.
All of them still had successful careers for many decades.
But
Jacques Cinq-Mars excavated many other sites.
Right, but are you denying that he was attacked for the very thing that you're saying archaeologists don't do?
No, but I'm denying there's a coordinated attack. There
But
was
there's
no
a coordinated
coordinated
attack.
I've never
on
said
him?
there's a coordinated attack.
On Dillahay, there was not an attack?
No, of course
Was
not.
there more than one person?
I have no idea. This was before I was even
How
a
many
scholar. I was a
architects were
kid.
involved in this?
Heated when Graham Hancock and Flint Dibble debated the role of archaeologists in dismissing new ideas. Hancock pointed out how some critics rejected a now-proven theory, framing it as an example of personal attacks. Flint pushed back, saying it was just part of normal academic debate. Neither was willing to budge, and the exchange highlighted the tension between challenging mainstream narratives and sticking to established methods. Joe kept things grounded, cutting through the noise and staying sharp as always. That's it for today, guys. From Dr. Sanjay Gupta squirming under pressure to Graham Hancock and Flint Dibble's heated debate, these conversations remind us why Joe's podcast is so captivating. He's not afraid to challenge anyone, no matter the topic. Love him or hate him, Joe Rogan knows how to spark conversations that make you think. So what did you think of it? Let us know in the comments below, and see you next time on Podcast Crazy.
I don't believe there's a conspiracy against me. I've said that 1,000 times.
You said you're public enemy number one.
Yes, I am. Clearly, Flint, to you, because you have, and John Hoops, for example, from the University of Kansas. I can play you some stuff from John Hoops, too, if you want.
So what is this right here? It says to Graham, Jimmy, and others, we see you and will share with the world just how you try to bully and censor us. Who's trying to censor you?
Well, I'd argue that when people swarm me...
This is a quote from Flint Dibble, by the way, from one of his tweets.
Well, there's times when people swarm me, and they...
People online, you mean?
Yeah, of course.
Tweet people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't read that.
Okay, I try not to, but I have a small Twitter account.
Yeah, but that has nothing to... It's just people. It's just random
I
people.
agree.
When you're public, okay, and you post something public, and you get involved in a discussion about some contentious issue that's public, the whole world can attack you. So try to connect that to Graham or connect that to anything. You're just dealing with people.
Mm-hmm.
He's not responsible for that.
I
You're
agree.
responsible if you engage and read it.
Flint, do you believe that there's such a thing? You know, we've all heard the word big pharma. Do you think there's such a thing as big archaeology?
No.
Oh, how odd. Because here you are, Flint Dibble, January 23rd, this is 2023.
It's scare quotes. It's sarcasm.
The reality is we live in a period where we're seeing an increased distrust of scholars and scientists.
Yes.
As an archaeologist, I think we have to respond by engaging with the public, and we do. In many ways, the reach of big archaeology is way beyond that of Graham Hancock.
But archaeology is very much about cultural heritage around the world. We need to give credit to the people that did things, and we need to really understand how modern people see their own cultural heritage and respect that. And so I just want to give a shout out to everybody listening from all over the world. Be proud of who you come from.